Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to my final video for my Fantastic Four reviews leading up to Fantastic Four First Steps, which we are here for Fantastic Four First Steps, starring Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bonds, the Fantastic Four must defeat Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his herald, the Silver Surfer. You all know that I've been pretty nervous about this movie. I was nervous going into it. The Fantastic Four is one of those teams that, and you guys know, you guys have watched my reviews on these, of the Fantastic Four movies. It's one of those teams doesn't really care about the secret identity, especially within this movie, because Sue is a part of Parliament, who's running the Future Foundation, and she goes invisible in front of everyone, and the same with Reed. Reed does the whole thing with his arm and writes down stuff in front of his students with his arm. Like, they see them use their powers all the time, and you're like, the point is so they don't know who you are. They call you the Human Torch. They call you the Thing. They call you Invisible Woman and that type of stuff. But it's one of those groups where you can kind of get a leeway with that because, everyone knows who they are because they're not like they're not like a Spider-Man where they cover up their face. It's like Steve Rogers, where, Steve Rogers, you don't really care if he runs around without the mask because everyone could say, oh, look, there's Steve Rogers. So it's just one of those things that kind of bugs me, but also I can't go it. I actually really like Pedro as Reed Richards. I think that he's one of the best Reed Richards we've ever gotten. Been put to film, especially. I originally didn't like the casting because, he's putting everything now. He's putting The Last of Us, he's the Mandalorian, he was Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman 1984, he's in so many things that I'm just like, okay, can we get someone else? Because, when this movie was announced, I was sold with the Adam Driver casting. I was like, yes, he can still do stuff for Disney, and people don't need to worry about the Star Wars sequels and stuff like that. And they'll love him as Mr. Fantastic. But Pedro grew on me. The same thing with Vanessa Kirby. I thought that she was really, really good as Sue Storm. And even though they would have preferred Margot Robbie, I think that Vanessa did a great job. And the way that she was written, she was fantastic as Sue Storm in this movie. I will say the one thing that I didn't like about Sue in this movie, and I get what they were trying to do, but I don't like when every time Reed comes up with an idea, Sue is like, no, we aren't doing that. Then she walks away with anger, and then obviously that's the only way they need to do it, and she hates that, and then, which I agree, it's a bad idea, and this is not a spoiler review, by the way. I might do a spoiler review, but what they come up with, yes, I do agree with it. It's not the right move to take, but it's also, what other way are you going to take? It's one of those things where you're like, okay, how else are you meant to do it? It's just kind of one of those things, and it's not, it's one of those things where it's it's not Vanessa's fault, it's the writing, and it's the story that they came up with. But I think Vanessa did a great job as Sue in this movie. I did like Ebon Moss-Bachrach as the Thing in this movie. I think that it's the best design of the Thing, and that's really saying something for me, because I really like the 2005 Thing design, because it's a practical suit and everything. I think he was really, really good in this movie. I think that, he was more of the friendly Thing than the angry Thing that we normally see in the other movies. The only actor in this movie that I'm still going like, you didn't show me like what this guy's capable of, and I'm not sold, is Joseph Quinn. He is the only person that I wasn't quite sold on yet. I'm hoping that I'm sold on him around the time that Doomsday comes around, and I'll be curious to see what his interactions are with like Wolverine and Thor and Spider-Man and that type of stuff. But in this movie alone, and I think it might have been because when they did the whole interview on the Jimmy Kimmel Show and Alan Cumming, who plays Nightcrawler in X2 and Avengers Doomsday next year, he was hosting. And they showed that whole clip of Johnny explaining like what he saw when he chased Silver Surfer. And I think there was something about that comedy that he was doing, the way that he was written in that bit, that I was like, that is not the type of humor that I expect out of a Johnny Storm. It's just one of those weird things, because I was like, that's kind of weird that you would write that for a character like Johnny Storm when he's a hot-headed guy who likes all the ladies and stuff, and like, so, and like, I feel like since Fantastic, they've stripped that characterization out of the way, that he likes the ladies and that type of stuff. So, and I don't see Joseph Quinn playing that type of Johnny Storm. So I think that that's just a thing that I need to live with, because every version of Human Torch since Chris Evans have been very, very weak. And I think that that is something that needs, well, hasn't been weak, but has been written differently in a way that I don't expect Johnny Storm to be written. So I think that is just a thing that I need to deal with, leading into the future of the MCU at this point. Because there are moments when Johnny Storm is smart, but the moments when he's trying to play the hot-headed Johnny Storm like he normally is, I don't really buy him as that type of Johnny Storm. And he might be because I haven't seen him in a lot of things. Like, I haven't seen Stranger Things, so I'm kind of curious to what they're going to do with him with the MCU going forward. I will say, the thing that I did like about Johnny Storm was that when they're doing the whole montage of all the Fantastic Four members, and Johnny is observing the flames and stuff, and we see one of the firemen, and he's actually the Johnny Storm from the 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four. I thought that was cool. I thought that was a cool bit of him absorbing the fire, because that's something that they don't explain in either of the Fantastic Four movies from the early 2000s and even Fantastic. These are easily the best action scenes that we've ever gotten in a Fantastic Four movie. As much as I love the Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, they didn't really have the best action sequences for the Fantastic Four. But I do like that this movie has the type of action scenes that the Fantastic Four deserve. And I really like that about this movie. I think that is amazing. I think it's incredible the way that they do the action scenes in this movie. It's funny because I think that it's kind of too soon to introduce Franklin into the MCU. I mean, it's an emotional scene when Sue is giving birth to him on the ship because Galactus made her pregnant, and so they can give it to Galactus so he can just rest. But I think it would have been fine to at least the first Fantastic Four movie just do an established Fantastic Four without Franklin. And then, like, later, like, after Doomsday, when you do your Fantastic Four sequel, do the whole bit of them having Franklin. Because I feel like that before Doomsday, it's too soon to do Franklin. Yeah, you do need to do it because of the story that they've written for Doomsday is basically... It kind of makes me a little concerned about Doomsday, only because I want this to be an Avengers movie, not a Fantastic Four 2, and the Avengers are basically side characters to the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men are even more side characters than the Fantastic Four. Like, the Fantastic Four is front and center of all the marketing, and then the Avengers, and then the X-Men are behind. Like, I want this to be a Avengers movie, not a Fantastic Four and Avengers movie. Like, but I am excited for Doomsday. It's my most anticipated next year. But this movie did kind of make me go like... And I knew that Franklin was going to be a big part before I saw it. I just didn't know how much of a big part. And I didn't know that I was going to have problems with it. And like... You set up the Doomsday with the Earth that the Fantastic Four are living on, right? So... And that's the way it's going to do it. They're going to collide the Fantastic Four universe and the MCU. And that's what you do for Doomsday. And, like, that's what ties with the Thunderbolts mid-credit scene, with the Fantastic Four ship coming down because they're actually trying to look for Franklin. The story of them giving Franklin up to Galactus, so they can save the Earth that they live on, I'm kind of conflicted about it, because it is a huge deal to make, of handing over part of your family to this otherworldly being that you don't know. The reason why I'm kind of conflicted about it is because that Galactus makes Sue pregnant. I mean, it's a spoiler. This is a spoiler-ish, but you can kind of guess it, in terms of, like, if you know the comics, you can kind of figure out where it goes. But, like, Galactus makes Sue's pregnant, and then when they come back, they're going like, oh, the press is all there, and they're going like, oh, have you defeated Galactus? And it's like, yes, no, we haven't yet. And they're like, oh, well, why? And they're like, oh, he's asked for too big of a price. He's like, well, what did he ask for? It's like, he asked for our son. And then everyone flips out. I'm like, hold on a second. You're telling me that... No, not the Fantastic Four. I mean, the Fantastic Four as well, but, like, the people of that Earth. You're telling me that you want to be selfish and want them to give Franklin over to Galactus. Just because you morons want to live. That's a little stupid. Like, yes, if the Fantastic Four were real and they said that, I would be like, yeah, I mean, hand them over, but also I would be like, I mean, I can't get it, because, like, if I was in that position, I would be like, I wouldn't want to hand my newborn to a outer space being that I've never met before and only wants to take him because he thinks that that our baby will have the same ability that he has. So, and like, so when Sue eventually goes out to give that speech after they have a whole argument in the Baxter Building, you're like, yeah, you tell him, because that's such a stupid thing to do. Like, why would you whinge about this, these heroes that are trying to protect you? They don't want to give up their kid because, like, they need to raise this kid. Like, why would you raise a kid in this state when there's so much negativity around people? It's like trying to raise someone in the world of the internet. Like, the internet is so negative, like, especially online. It's so negative, and you're like, why are we even doing this? Like, why are we making videos and making documentaries of our process of our kid and that type of stuff, when all we're going to get is just, like, crap for it? Because, like, not like people crap about that. But like, you never know. People would probably do that. No, in this day and age. So you're like, why do you do that? And it's very stupid to me. And it's very stupid to me that they were even trying to go like, oh yeah, let's... It's like, yeah, just pass the baby to Galactus and then we all get to live. It's like, nah, frick you. Like, that is stupid. It wasn't... I'm not blaming the people that wrote... well, I can't vent, but also it's like... Those people are morons. Like... And every time that someone does something like that, they're morons. And it's like... See where our heroes are coming from. Where they're coming from, as opposed to you guys being selfish. Be selfless, except for selfish. I do like how the final battle in this movie stacks with... like other final battles in the MCU, where throughout the whole movie, it's all about protecting Franklin. I do like that. I do like how it's about protecting Franklin and making sure that Galactus doesn't get Franklin. And I do like Galactus in this movie. I do think that he actually looks like Galactus instead of looking like a cloud. Looking at you, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. And, like, but I do think it would have been better to make Galactus as a Avengers threat. Because, like, you make it basically an Avengers movie, like Avengers vs. Galactus or something, and you put all the different characters, or even, like, basically do Doomsday, but with Galactus as the villain, except for Doctor Doom. I think it would have been cool to do that. And then we can basically have, like... And I think that's the movie that you could have done the Franklin storyline. If you did Galactus later, did Doom as the villain of this movie, and then did Galactus as your Avengers Doomsday movie, that would have worked a lot better for me, because you would have had the first movie with Doctor Doom, and then you could have had your second movie, introducing Franklin, and then that setting up the Galactus thing, and him eating the world and that type of stuff, and then all the Avengers and stuff need to team up. But the way that they do it in this movie, I actually really like. I actually don't think it's that bad. I just kind of wish that was an Avengers movie, because Galactus, I hope he comes back and becomes a Avengers threat, because if he's just a Fantastic Four threat, that's kind of a bit pointless to me. Especially, the MCU has been doing all this cosmic stuff. Like, they did the Infinity Saga, and they have even gone a bit more cosmic recently. So, it's crazy to me that they haven't done that yet. I do like that this movie is one of the most important MCU movies in the Multiverse Saga when it comes to setting up Avengers Doomsday, and the threat is Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. I love how we see that post-credit scene, we're like, oh my god, Doomsday is coming. Avengers Doomsday is coming next year in December. And I love the theme created by Michael Giacchino, who has already made amazing scores with the MCU alone, like Spider-Man. He did the Spider-Man trilogy music. He did the Doctor Strange 1 score. Like, he's so good with the music, and I really, really love how he's done it. And there is something with Franklin that bugs me, and that is everything talks about not having any consequences in the MCU, right? And this is a spoiler-ish. Like, if you know the comic, you could probably pick up on this too, but I need to say to get my one main complaint out. This is my main problem. And the MCU people say that the MCU doesn't keep people dead. Like, they brought back Wolverine. Yeah, yes, it's a different version, but it's still Wolverine. Like, it's, at the end of this movie, something happens to Sue. I'm not going to say what, because it's a spoiler-ish. I'm not going to say actually what happens. Something happens to Sue in this movie. At the end. And they're doing all this stuff, the typical like stuff that you would see when something like that happens. And then they put Franklin onto Sue, and he's like, "Mommy," and Sue's fine again. You're like, what? That is not what should happen. It's like, you might as well go find Tony Stark and do that to him, or you might as well go find Quicksilver and do that to him. Like, why would you do that? It's ridiculous. I need to give Fantastic Four First Steps 4 out of 5 stars. You know, watching this movie back to back, especially to the other Fantastic Four movies, this made me realize that it's hard to make a Fantastic Four movie. Much like it is a Superman movie, or something to that extent, right? They have tried 3 times previous to this, and like the longest we've got in terms of a franchise was the ones in the early 2000s with Fantastic Four and Rise of the Silver Surfer. So I'm curious to see what how they treat them in Doomsday. The Russo brothers are really, really good with established characters, so I'm very excited to see what they do with Doomsday and how they use the Fantastic Four in Doomsday. So, guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Subscribe to the little bell icon to get notified of future videos I make. I will do my review of Doomsday. I'll do that after my Fantastic Four rankings and stuff. So I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.